Hello, my name is Annabelle Malamuk, and I'd like to formally welcome you to my Capstone project. The selected site is set in Woodside, Queens, along the 7 train and adjacent to the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. It is bounded by Roosevelt Avenue on the south, 65th Street on the west, 37th Avenue to the north, and 69th Street to the east. On site, we have the 69th Street train station, the Universal Church, several multifamily and single-family residences, and retail services along Roosevelt Avenue. The Woodside neighborhood is home to Chinese, Korean, Thai, Filipino, Pakistani, Indian, Irish, Peruvian, and Ecuadorian communities. It is important to note that most services on the site are multilingual since more than half of the community is composed of immigrants. Because of the block's close proximity to the BQE and 7 train, the air and noise pollution levels are significantly higher than New York's average. The asthma rate in children who live in Woodside is also higher than New York's average. For my capstone project, I wanted to focus on what's been affecting my community. East and Southeast Asian families have been targeted and blamed relentlessly for the COVID-19 pandemic within the past year. Hearing violent attacks occur mostly in so-called progressive cities like New York and San Francisco makes it even more upsetting and absurd for me. For my research, I conducted a survey within my own community. I first began with personal questions about discrimination and other racist encounters, such as how old people were when they first experienced racism. Then I led into what we, as a community, can do in response to the increased anti-Asian attacks, since the majority of survey takers believe our current system will fail us, as we constantly see in the media. Lastly, I addressed the mental health stigma in Asian cultures and the inaccessibility of mental health services in the United States. If mental health services were more affordable, culturally sensitive, and accessible, more survey takers would take the opportunity to use them. So, in response to increased anti-Asian violence due to the pandemic, I propose a safe haven for all Asians, both citizens and immigrants alike. It is a place of resistance where the community can address and discuss the histories and presence of Asians in the United States. A booth offers emergency medical assistance and a place to report hate crimes. It contains a history of anti-Asian violence and oppression, beginning with the first Chinese laborers of the American Transnational Railroad and continuing to the present-day violence. It also expresses our history of resistance with the Asian American movement of the 70s and 80s and present-day Stop Asian Hate demonstrations. Then we shift to propose alternate routes along the underside of the elevated 7 train. It is an extension of the existing subway station that provides new pathways to safety within the block. And finally, we have our safe haven. Welcome to the Asian American Center for Health and Affirmative Action. This proposal will include mental and clinical health services, environmental services, cultural events, and safety and accessibility. The center emphasizes the importance of accessibility and unity. On the first floor, we have the self-defense gym on the left side, auditorium and meeting rooms on the top center, and the clinical services on the right. On the second floor, we have our mental health services and greenhouse meditation room that overlooks the garden below. The long sections represent the change of the landscape in the roof. The roof splits off in the middle to allow light and rain to highlight the mosque courtyard in the middle. The cross sections represent the interaction between the church and the center. The roof creates a canopy over the pathway and decreases closeness to the church as we move west. In this exploded view, we see that the roof acts as a protective shell for the center. The wood structure supports this shell. Wind flows above and through the roofs. Rainwater slides down the sloped roof into the 2 mosque garden pockets, where water is absorbed and filtered for the center to use. There are 3 layers to the gardens. Our bottom layer with large pieces of gravel from the existing parking lot of the church. Here we have a collage of the moss garden courtyard, a portion of the shared backyard and path from the sidewalk, greenhouse meditation room, and a self-defense center.